Werewolf The Apocalypse Earthblood is based in the World of Darkness tabletop RPG where werewolves, vampires, and all manner of creatures are at the center stage and live among us in the modern world. Many already familiar with the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, a game which is a cult classic RPG from 2004 with a sequel currently in development. But in this game you take on the role of Cahal, an eco-terrorist werewolf trying to take down the Pentex Corporation, an evil company that pollutes the environment and experiments on people. It comes to you from Cyanide Studios, the team behind the Call of Cthulhu game, Warhammer Space Hulk games, and the Styx stealth games. When it comes to presentation, it is a AA game striving to be more. For a game with a lower budget, however, it actually looks pretty good running 60 frames per second on the PS5 with what felt like 4K resolution. The team tries their best to present you with a diverse environments as you'll travel to several hub-based worlds with their own bases of operation. However, at every point in the game you'll always feel the constraints Cyanide Studios had, since all the locations you'll go to will predominantly be inside of various facilities, which all have remarkably similar copy and paste feel to them. However, it does have some nice voice acting, and the music, which will not blow any minds away, but has some awesome heavy metal riffs playing during the fights and engagements. Sound effects are serviceable, but nothing again that will blow your mind. What I was able to connect with is, despite repetitive environments, the mediocre graphics, and most character models that look like they escape an early PS3 era, the game has a consistent passion and love I felt for the lore, trying to tell an interesting, if contained story, and presents you with various gameplay mechanics, whether it be combat as a werewolf or stealthing in wolf form, which I gotta say, they were fun, and I couldn't help but feel the team is just 2 steps away from greatness without ever reaching it. Many will dismiss this game for being just another cheap cash-in, where I think despite its faults, it actually has a lot of heart.
You are the one who freed Onawa. You reek of human, warrior of Gaia. For what purpose do you enter my territory?
I'm fighting for Gaia, to drive Endrin and the Worm from this territory.
This brings me to the story, which is a mix of Dances with Wolves and Avatar. After our main protagonist Cahal exiles himself from his tribe of werewolves for the reasons I'm not going to tell you why, I don't want to ruin the story, he'll find himself fighting an evil corporation that not only pollutes the world, but spreads this evil what is known as the Worm. It is hard to explain all of it without writing a book for you, but trust me, it's all actually very interesting, especially if you're a noob to the World of Darkness lore. I like this idea that the werewolves live on the outskirts of society, connected with nature, talking to various spirit guardians. I just wish this game took more time to develop the story and had better transitions between conversations, as most of them end very abruptly and the scene transitions don't help much either. But again, to reinforce this idea that this game is on the right path to greatness, but just didn't have enough time, budget, or whatever to really tell a story that's not just filled with lore, but forces you to emotionally invest into characters' deaths and triumphs. But if I'm honest, most video game stories never really touch me in that level, and more of a means to the end, really. Unless it's something like Last of Us, or Metal Gear Solid, or Mass Effect for example. Now let's talk about the gameplay, because this is where the game shines the best, because where else do you get to transform into a werewolf, just tear shit up, leave the whole room full of blood and guts? It fulfills the fantasy of being a werewolf and just a badass, despite that both combat and stealth are quite easy, rudimentary, but never stop from being actually fun. I do recommend playing this game in a harder difficulty because I found it quite easy. Usually the setup of a general mission is you'll get a mission objective from your home base, you will run to that objective usually in wolf form since it's much faster, you start sneaking around until you get noticed and then let the bodies hit the floor. But I wish you were able to fight in human form, and had to use your wolf form or werewolf form as a power-up or a special because the human form is pretty useless in this game, besides talking to some characters. The stealth as well is easy as the enemy AI is not that smart and very easy to trick. There are some good surprises where you have to navigate a prison and complete various objectives for inmates to get to your target, which I thought was really neat and different from everything else in the game. And I do like the idea of giving me the freedom of approach for each situation. If I want to sneak around, I can sneak around. But there are exceptions with certain missions you have to stealth. It's a fail objective if you get noticed, and sometimes you have to fight. You can expect to sink about 7 to 10 hours into this game, depending on your speed, with some side quests here and there, which are not very numerous. Which then begs me to ask, why have the hub structure of the game in the first place if there's no real reason for you to be going off of the beaten path? Also, the skill tree that's given to you, again, it's pretty basic like most action RPGs. You're not going to be spending hours trying to figure out which skill to open up because there's only really 1 or 2 really useful skills that you could spam. But again, despite all those shortcomings, it is still a fun game because of the fantasy fulfillment. I would rate this game as a solid 7 out of 10, but I would like to mention that it is $49.99, which I paid for the PS5 version, with the PC digital version being cheaper, $39.99. I think it's both of them on this inexpensive side. I would say $30 would be perfect for this game, but again, I think it's worth a shot if you're into that kind of lore and vampires and werewolves and creatures, and especially if you like the World of Darkness lore in general, or you want to get those underworld feels overall. It's not perfect, but I would say give it a chance, check it out, because it is something different. There you go, guys. That is my review of Werewolf The Apocalypse Earthblood. Like I said, I recommend to check it out, especially that it's something different that we don't usually get from video games. Just on that basis alone, I recommend for you to check it out, maybe when it's on sale, or maybe if you have extra cash and you have nothing to really play at the moment. I think it would be a great pickup to enjoy something, play something a little different. Guys, let me know down below in the comments if you've played the game yourself, if you're into the World of Darkness lore in general, or into the tabletop RPG World of Darkness. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoy these kinds of reviews, I'm going to be reviewing a lot more games on this channel. Make sure you subscribe down below. There's all kinds of gaming news on this channel as well.